We didn't work this out beforehand, but I will pass this off to you so you can run your slides when it comes time, if that's okay.
That's great.
Okay. So welcome everybody to the DDD and You webinar. The topic today is Kat shared is accessing assistive technology. Kat also shared that the webinar is being recorded and will be made available later on the division's webpage. And we'll go ahead and put that link in the chat for you now. And also Kat shared that you will also receive an email when that recording's ready. So if you're an individual with a developmental disability or a family member, welcome. We're very glad to have you on the call today. If you are someone who supports individuals and families, please be sure to share this information with them and also let them know what the link is to the webinar page so that they can go back and review the information later if they're not able to attend today. Holly Ripe is here today to share information about how we can access assistive technology. She's going to tell us a little bit about what it is and what it isn't. So for today's webinar, we're going to start off with our introductions. We'll talk a little bit about assistive technology. Like I said, she's going to kind of review. I think there's been some myths out there what people think assistive technology is. So she's going to go walk through that with us. We're going to talk about how to get started with assistive technology. We're going to touch on remote supports, and we'll talk about where you can find help to explore assistive technology. I actually heard Holly do a presentation earlier this year and thought the information was so good. I asked her to please join a webinar with us today and see if she can share that information again and get it recorded and out to the audience that we hit on. So real quickly, I am Lisa Nothouse. I work at the Division of DD as the Supporting Families Lead. I am also a parent. My husband and I have an adult daughter who receives services, so I often wear two different hats. I have a personal experience hat, and then I have the work-related hat. So, Holly, if you're ready, I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself and start sharing the information.
Yeah. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to be with you guys. Um, I am the Provider Relations Director for the Department of Developmental Disabilities. And prior to that, I was part of the UDAT team, which is Universal Design and Assistive Technology. And I have a special passion for all things assistive technology. So anytime I get to talk about it, it just makes me giddy. So I promise to try to slow down and talk slowly so everyone can be in the know and get some good information out of this. So just want to talk about a few myths of technology, and these are ones we hear all the time. We hear that assistive technology is complicated and high tech, it's expensive. You've got to have some sort of prerequisites for using assistive technology. You got to have already, knowledge and skills about what it is in order to make it work. And, if it works great for one person, it's going to work great for another person. But as we all know, there's Apple people out there and there's Android people out there, and neither of the two shall cross, at least in my experience. So we've got to really personalize it down and make sure what is working for one person. If it is transferable, it's going to work for that other person in the same way. And it's not going to always be transferable. So meeting people where they're at is a huge part of finding the right kind of technology solutions. I want to talk a little bit about the levels of technology because this is something that a lot of folks don't think about. They always want to jump right over here to this high tech part, but there's some things that are a lot on the no tech side that might support folks. These might be inexpensive or ready to use tools that you might find around your house that you didn't know had an extra use for. Like I don't know if you guys have one of these in your kitchen. That's one of my favorite kitchen tools. It's this stick, and you use it to pull the tray out or the rack out from the oven. So you're not reaching into the oven to pull out hot dishes. And then you can use the stick to push it back in. You can also use that to open up some doors if they get stuck as well. Then you have the less sophisticated, easy to use. Some of these, at least for the DD world and for our waivers, the low tech and low or light tech might actually fall under specialized medical equipment. Medium tech is going to be things like apps, some more complicated devices. Low tech, light tech, medium tech might be things that are printed from a 3D printer that are specific for the use of the individual. And then we have our high tech. This is where You're going to see the OB feeding robot, for example, and some other tools and services. I want to talk about what assistive technology is, because actually it's two things kind of at the same time, and it can be two things completely on their own. So assistive technology can be devices, or it can be services. So when we think of devices, we think of those actual hardware pieces, the tablet that allows you to run an application that will help support you in daily life, versus the service, which might be more like our medication administration services, where you have the device for the technology, for the medication administration, but the service behind it is what's really key to help, maintain those things. So assistive technology encompasses both most of the time. A lot of times the device won't work without the service, and sometimes the service just doesn't work without the device. So when we think about getting started with technology, we think about it in kind of a 3 to 4 step process. So when we look at what technology means, there's a few things we need to look at. We need to consider the individual. We need to look at what they are, what tasks they're looking to accomplish, what tools they might already be familiar with, and the environment in which they're using it. Because if they're using it at work, that might look very different from what kind of technology or tools and supports they need in their home, and vice versa, schools and things like that. We do some exploration with lending libraries, schools, a lot of the local public libraries, and if you guys didn't know this, Missouri Assistive Technology has a swap and shop page where you can find pre-used, gently used, specialized medical equipment and some assistive technology devices there as well. They also have a lending library that helps. And check out your local libraries, because a lot of our public libraries do offer rentals for tablets or hotspots to see if those things will work well for individuals. And there we go. I couldn't see the whole slide. I'm like, wait, what happened to the rest of the implementation piece? So when we look at implementation, we look at who's the person and who's going to help them, what supports are going to be available to support them in learning the technology, because what we don't want to see is someone getting a piece of technology that can really help them, but then not having the support or the follow-up to help learn that, so then it sits on the shelf. So the implementation is really important as well. Okay, this star came from Charting the Life course, and it came from a funding webinar that David Baker did with UMKC, Institute of Human Development, on how to fund assistive technology. And I just think this support star framework for finding out how to support assistive technology is absolutely invaluable and ingenious, because it talks about all areas of support. And of course, we do have our waivers down here. We have ABLE accounts, and we have Missouri Assistive Technology who can help. If you don't have a waiver and you're in the St. Louis area, Life Tech through St. Louis ARC is also a funding source there. But think about how you would use your own technology. Is there a tablet that the individual needs for a specific application or support? Sometimes that's a timer. They just need a timer, a way to set a timer so they know how to move on to the next activity. So it's really good to think about all available things. And then, YouTube is an amazing place to learn about how to use technologies, applications, all sorts of anything you ever wanted to know is always available, I think, for you on YouTube. A little bit about our waiver services. So we have 4 different types of assistive technology within our assistive technology waiver, and that includes things like devices and equipment. So these are one-time purchases. So if you just need a one-time piece of equipment like an iPad with apps specifically put on it, or and you need a bed sensor that will connect to your Alexa so the individual can receive help in the least invasive way. We have services, and these include our personal emergency response and our mobile emergency response system, medication administrations, and we do have applications and services that have a monthly fee, and that would be covered under there. We have education and support. These education and support are directly tied to those services and equipment. So if you get an iPad from Missouri Assistive Technology, for example, who's our main provider for that type of equipment, they would then reach out and provide you with some additional education and support. Then we have consultation, and the folks that can do a consultation for you at this time, we're trying to grow this a little bit more so you have more access to more people to support, is the UDAT team, the Universal Design and Assistive Technology team, Mo Housing, which is our Missouri housing partner, and Missouri A team. And this year we took the remote support out of the assistive technology waiver definition and made it its very own definition. So it stands alone now as a different service type, which really helps in breaking apart the two, since there are some similarities between them. So a little bit about that remote support. So and I've got a little asterisk here, and that little asterisk is to remind me that remote support and remote monitoring is not a virtual delivery of services. So it's not going to be there as a way to, I'm going to set up a Zoom call and learn how to cook from my direct care professional staff. Remote support and remote monitoring is really a system that includes sensors, response centers, on-demand support, and in-person support when it's dispatched to increase independence and be the backup system for folks who are trying to learn independent skills. A great example of this is, the whole family wants to go do something except for the individual. They're like, please don't make me go bowling one more time. I don't want to go. Well, the family could initiate remote supports then and let the individual have that alone time in the house while they still have the ability to check on the sensors, respond to the person if they need support as they need it. So a few reasons why we love remote support is that it really increases independence, but it also provides the confidence that someone needs if they've never had the opportunity to be alone before, to really learn how to build those skills with still having someone there just in case. So for the top 4 misunderstandings that we have about assistive technology and remote supports is that assistive technology does not require a bid. It does not require a therapist evaluation. Now, I've got a little asterisk there to say that if you're looking for a communication device, it is highly recommended that you talk with a speech therapist and work with a speech therapist, because they are specifically trained on what kind of communication devices will work best for that individual's type of language and where they're at in learning language. So while a therapist evaluation is not required to request AT waiver services, it is highly recommended if you're looking at communication devices. Now, if you have an individual, and as it so happens, some folks have technology devices that they use at school, but then the school doesn't allow them to take the device home for them. So if that device is working at school, you can maybe use the waiver to get the same device at home so that individual has the opportunity to communicate through all of their environments. So if that's the case and you already know which one's working and you just need a second one because of the environment situation, or they broke, it is technology. It does sometimes need to be upgraded. They do sometimes break, then you could skip the whole speech therapist part. Remote supports does require due process and an assessment. Remote support is not a surveillance system. It's not there to watch people 24/7. That's not its purpose or intention. So it does need remote support or due process, though, because we want to make sure that individuals are available to know that all of their rights are still being covered. And typically, remote supports is the least restrictive support. a thing I want to also touch base on is that assistive technology, specialized medical equipment, and home modifications can all work together and may have what appear to be some overlaps. They are very specific and separate services, but they might work together. And one of the ways that they might work together is the bathroom needs to be remodified. The door needs to be widened. There's not enough space to turn around a wheelchair in there. So we're going to do a home modification on the bathroom. Well, that's great. But the individual also doesn't have the ability to open up the door. So let's put an assistive technology automatic door opener in there as well. So now you have a full universally designed bathroom that not only the individual can use, but anytime he has friends over, they can use it too. So who can help? Because that was a lot of information, and assistive technology is really so specific to an individual, their environment, and what they want their outcomes to be using the assistive technology. It's going to be a bit of a struggle sometimes. So luckily, we have support coordinators who have been trained as navigators. They can help support navigating the field of assistive technology. The Universal Design and Assistive Technology team can help do those consultations, and you'll see their very long email address down there as technologyfirst and universal design at dmh.mo.gov. UDAT also can help with specialized medical equipment and assistive technology and home modifications. And then our partners at Missouri Assistive Technology, they work across the entire state. They can help with doing the consultations. They have a lending library. They can design assistive technology. They have a 3D printer. And I know Scout is always happy to get in there and get in the lab and figure out, okay, how can I make this tool work for this person? So they're also a great resource. And I did see some questions pop up in the chat. So let's see. Well, we got a lot of great questions. So Jennifer, yes, I do think the slides are available. Lisa, is that accurate? Will they be part? They'll definitely be part of the recording. You can always rewatch this again.
Yes. Yes. Kat will put those in. Somebody already beat me to the AT one. I'm going to go ahead and put on our education and learning page. There's the link to the webinars. I'll add that in there as well.
So Jamie, can respite be tied to remote supports? So as we do have a value-based payment that's available for respite and remote supports, we haven't had anyone do it yet. So if you have an idea or you want to talk that through, would you please reach out to the UDAT team and let's talk about what that would look like and make sure we have all the components in place to support that individual. Because I do think there's space for it there. The only remote supports can't be done with shared living or group home services are the only two services that it cannot be done with. So Amy, yes, due process for remote support is going to be revisited annually. We are looking at a kind of subcommittee for due process, since due process looks for things that are restrictive supports, things that might impede someone's rights. And what we found is that remote supports does the opposite. It doesn't impede rights, it improves rights. So sometimes the due process for remote supports doesn't make sense. So we're looking at how we can better improve that system to make it better. So, okay, great. Alicia asked for the links in the chat, and it looks like you guys took care of that. Ruth, I would love for the very long email to be changed to UDAT at dmh.mo.gov, and I will definitely see if we can make that happen, because that is a really long email. So you can obtain an AT consultation, Devon, by reaching out to the UDAT team and scheduling time with one of them. They are all enabling technology information specialists, which is a nationally recognized accreditation for assistive technology. So actually all of our UDAT members also meet the waiver definition of who can provide that consultation. So you can always reach out to them to schedule that consultation. Typically it's done via WebEx, but if they happen to be in that area, they can certainly do it in person as well. So there are some additional links about where to find the webinar in the future. And there is a section on our DMH website, 2 different sections, for more information about assistive technology. So in our DMH homepage, if you go to information for support coordinators and TCM providers, under the ISP planning section of that page, you will find a rate and resource guide, a frequently asked questions for PERS and MERS system, and a remote support rate sheet. So the rate and resource guide just provides some basic information about the different services and how they work and who's available for those services. The PERS and MERS, frequently asked questions, really focuses on those 2 devices and how and when they could be considered a restrictive support. And the remote support rate sheet is just that it's a web workbook, Excel workbook, and each tab along the bottom is a different remote support provider. So the support coordinator can really just fill that sheet out in order to understand what the cost would be. Lisa, thank you for dropping in the device loans for Missouri Assistive Technology. Their page is amazing. I would really recommend it. They offer a plethora of services, including funding. They have a great funding source called a microloan. So if you needed a less expensive piece of technology equipment, you could actually get a small loan for that, and it helps build the individual's credit. It does wonderful things. Their swap and shop page is amazing. The assistive technology consultation is not a requirement to get assistive technology approved. It is there when folks say, you know, we really think some technology could be hugely beneficial here, but we're not really sure where to start. That would be a great time to request a consultation. Or another example might be, you know, we've used technology in the past and it was kind of helpful, but it didn't quite meet everything we needed. That would also be a great time for a consultation. But the assessment consultation is not required for assistive technology to be approved through the waiver. So there is not really a list of well, through Missouri Assistive Technology, in their lending library, they do have a list. There's also a great, let me drop this in the chat for you guys too. It's a great resource called Bridging Apps. And what it does is it works through those same things we talked about before when considering assistive technology, you know, the tools, the environment, who's going to be using it, what's their comfort level with assistive technology, is there any special considerations they might need, like they can't use a touchpad due to dexterity, for example. And it walks through all those pieces, and then it provides a list of applications that you would put on a phone or a tablet or your desktop computer, laptop, that meet your requirements and meet what the outcome might be. So that's always a great resource that we go to a lot as well. Let's see, if you asked a question and I haven't, can a person that is wanting to rent their first apartment at home use home repairs and modifications? So in our in our environmental adaptations waiver definition, it does not include home repairs. It would include modifications that they need. So for example, if they need the doors widened or the hallway widened or the kitchen's not accessible or the bathroom's not accessible, those could be modified through EAA, but EAA does not cover home repairs or wear and tear or preventative services.
And Holly, you and I have talked before about where people can find what different devices or technology is out there. And you mentioned the Missouri Assistive Technology Project, or which I think they just go by Missouri Assistive Technology now. They're not project anymore. But if you will go to their main webpage, I think we dropped the link in there to the loan part of it, the Equipment Technology Consortium. On the right-hand side, there's ETC device catalogs, and if you will click on each one of those links, they have additional information for aids for daily living, communication devices, computer access. It goes all the way down, vision, hearing, switches, iPad apps. There is a ton of information there that you can explore. So if you're new to assistive technology, and this is funny because I remember, like I said, I have a daughter with a developmental disability, young adult. And when we first started, we would go out and try to find catalogs. That's back when they would mail out catalogs just full of information. It is right here at your fingertips now, what Missouri Assistive Technology has provided electronically. It's a great deal of information. It also sparks some ideas about things that maybe you may not even realize, like, oh my gosh, you didn't know it existed. And that would come in really handy. I have an aunt that has been living with MS for many, many years, and some of the things that are available today weren't available when she first got her diagnosis. And we're talking about simple stuff like helping folks get in and out of a vehicle with one of the grippers that fit into the car jamb, right? The loops that you can put up on the handle, the grab handle of getting in the car that extends the grab so they can pull themselves up. Some of the most simplest of things that we don't think about. And I think you even mentioned earlier that it's not just for people with disabilities. We all use assistive technology in some way. You mentioned the oven rack, the pusher, the puller, that you can get those on Amazon for less than $10, I think. Those are things that we all use. So I definitely would encourage folks to go out and explore what else is out there. They've got it broken down on the big thing now, like with kiddos, it seems like what iPad apps are out there. And you can click on that little link and it will take you into note taking, communication, hearing, organization, reading and writing, and on and on. So I encourage folks to just explore, get out there and look and see what's there. And then I think on your slide about where to look, with the star, the support star, I love that star because it walks you through. It's not just something that we have to depend upon the waiver for. I love exploring that star around to the different areas of places where people can go to get assistance to get that. So
Yes. And, you know, I found I was trying to do a webinar, and I was trying to figure out how many applications were released each year for Google Play and the App Store. And what I found was that daily, about 1,600 apps are released per platform. So there's no way to keep up with the amount of technology and assistive technology that's coming through. So if you find a need, I suggest you work backwards from the need.
Yeah.
That's going to get you to the best solution versus trying to learn what every new technology and what every new technology support is out there. I promise that will drive you mad.
Right. It changes every day.
Yes.
Well, Holly, I am so appreciative that you agreed to do this webinar with us. It was the information that I heard you do earlier this year just was so relevant and made such sense. I think folks have questions and maybe don't know where to go. So if you're on the call today and you're working with those families and individuals that are kind of looking at assistive technology, be sure to share this with them. Have them reach out to the resources that Holly shared with us today and help them explore some AT that might come into their life and make their life a little easier. So real quickly, we're going to go ahead and wrap up, but we'll mark your calendar now. The next Mo DDD and You webinar will be on July 25th, 12:30 to 1, lunch and learn. Thank you so much, Holly. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on. I always enjoy talking about technology.
Thanks, everybody.